Hey everybody, welcome again to another edition of the Riff On podcast. I'm Eric D, and I'm joined by this fine-looking gentleman right here.
Oh, you're being too kind. Andrew James. What?
They can't even see you.
What do you mean?
They're missing out.
Andrew James.
He's a fine-looking specimen. Welcome to 2018, everybody.
2018. Can you believe it?
How many times have you written 2017 or typed it? Who writes nowadays?
I still write 2012.
I always knew you were behind the times. Incredibly, I've been on the ball. Actually, no, I take that back. I've written 2017 at least twice today, and it's only Tuesday the 2nd.
Yeah, no, I've written 18.
All right.
I wrote it twice today, and you know what? It doesn't happen to me as much anymore because I don't write checks.
Yeah.
I haven't written a check in probably since 2012. That's why.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, who writes things anymore? Nowadays, it's typing, and the amazing thing is, I would say the best class I took when I was in high school was my typing class because I can type.
Who'd you have?
I had Miss Godin.
You Miss Godin? I had Hugh.
That was word perfect. I wonder if that's where I learned to type. Could have been Miss Godin.
I had Hugh Clark.
Yes. You know what? That's an in thing. This is like an in thing. We're talking about Milton High School now.
Milton High School. Yeah, well, we said we were going to hit it.
We are going to hit it. We're just not going to hit it right now.
No, not right now. We're going to stay a little bit. We're going to get out of the 90s. We're coming back to 2018.
90s. I'm 80. Yeah, I suppose I did take that in the 90s. Son of a gun. But I always said the typing was the best class I ever took in high school. I type about 70 words a minute with pretty good accuracy. And my brain just moves faster than my fingers sometimes. And I know I've typed 2017 at least 2 or 3 times today. So, anyhow, welcome to 2018.
Welcome.
How was 2017 for you?
2017 was all right.
You know, we're still here. I think that's the good thing, right?
The world didn't end with the Mayan calendar.
Was that last year?
No, it's 2012. I'm gonna keep bringing it back to 2012.
But the Cheeto who lives in Pennsylvania Avenue hasn't blown us up yet, so we made it to 2018 at least through him.
I don't acknowledge his existence.
That's not a bad thing. Although we said we weren't going to talk about politics, right?
Is he politics? I thought he was reality TV.
He is reality TV, and people still voted for him. But we weren't going to talk about politics. We weren't going to talk about religion, because even though you could talk about religion, we talked about that past.
Yeah, I could talk about religion.
We're not going to talk about religion.
No, I don't. No, not this one. Maybe in another one.
I don't know.
We could talk about religion. It's, I will say this. Religion has taken a very interesting trend over the last 10 years.
I could see that. So is everything, though.
Yeah. But you think about like some of these things that have been foundation to our society and pivotal for people's identities has really taken a turn.
Well, I think that's a good point. And I think this transitions perfectly into our identities. We're going to talk about social media for this Riff On podcast, and it's part of so many people's identities nowadays. It's part of my identity. Through and through, it's part of your identities. It's really one of the reasons why we connected so heavily in person was because of social media.
It is. Well, the internet, I think, the early days of the internet was scary because you never knew who you were talking to. There was no accountability. And I think one thing that social media does is it actually brings some sort of accountability, because you used to be able to go on to message boards. And I was a part of a Red Sox message board, which was called Forever Red. And like, you would just get these people, coming on. I got involved because the Red Sox were talking about trading Manny Ramirez for Alex Rodriguez. 2003.
Wow, it would have been a good trade actually at the time.
I think it worked out well for both teams.
For them not to trade him and for A-Rod. Was A-Rod still in Texas at the time?
He was, yeah.
Okay.
And the Red Sox had just barely signed Manny to that 10-year deal.
Jeez.
But the point being, back in 2003, you could be anyone, because it was harder to find stuff about people online.
Right.
Now you could run into somebody at a store and they could kind of mouth off to you a little bit, and you're like, oh, well, what was your name again? And you can
Google
find
them. You can Google them. Yeah,
Google
there's no anonymity anymore.
2003, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Sure. Absolutely. And I was just thinking, what, AOL just closed Instant Messenger just a couple of weeks ago.
The AIM.
And that's where there was a lot of anonymity back then. One of my login usernames is still sources back to my original AOL address that my father signed up for me back when we had our computer and we were first connecting to the internet, whatever that was, 25 plus years ago, I imagine.
Would you go into the Grand Union and just grab a handful of the free hours discs?
Imagine when you didn't have to; they just mailed them to you. I mean, it's like free coasters.
I know, they're so bad.
People that still have AOL just befuddles me, and actually in my day job, I come across people that still have an AOL email address, and I deep down I giggle, even though I had one, and AIM, I didn't have my account anymore, but I still remember my username, and there was an anonymity there. That's one of the toughest words in the English language to say, and I should stop trying to say it right
anonymity.
now. Is there a synonym for anonymity?
That's a good question.
Dead air. All right, we'll go past that. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say anonymity a few more times.
Well, we don't have to. We can skirt around.
Okay.
We can skirt around the word.
So you feel that when we got away from really MySpace and things like that, because you could certainly hide behind your avatar and everything back then.
No, I think MySpace was. I think MySpace was part of the journey. Towards where we are now, and I'm really excited for this movie coming out in 2018 called Player One. And it's basically the premise of it. I read the book, love the book. The premise of it is that we've run out of fossil fuels as a resource, which means that you can no longer get around cheaply. So what they did is they created this whole online world. And I think that's where we're headed. I mean, unless we can come up with some kind of, I know we're not talking about politics here, but unless we can come up with some kind of renewable energy source to help us travel around a little better.
I am vaguely familiar with the movie, or the book, I should say. One of the, I hate to say disadvantage, the best thing I ever did was get rid of cable and satellite television and everything about 7 years ago. So I don't watch basically any television other than Netflix. I just started The Wire, which, wow, that's incredible. But football, basically on Sundays I turn it on. So unless they happen to run the previews for whatever movie during the game I happen to be watching on Sunday, I have zero clue as to what's out in the theaters other than, say, Star Wars Last Jedi right now. Of course, you have to be deaf and blind.
It comes through my feed because of who I follow on Twitter and Instagram and the FB. And
I may have blocked that on Twitter. That may be why. After a while, when the ads start popping up, I just block the account because it bugs the bejesus out of me.
I really love sci-fi and fantasy, so like stuff like that comes through my feed.
Yeah, right on. So
if you hit the Wired or the Mashable as well.
When did you fall for social media heavy? When did you first become aware that it was here and you were getting involved? And
so I was living in Northern Ireland at the time in 2005, and I was really into iTunes free downloads because this was a new thing. You could get free music, like they were giving stuff out. This is like early 2000s to combat Napster. iTunes is like, well, here, you can have 2 or 3 free downloads a week. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I was finding lots of new artists and stuff. And a friend of mine from Canada who was living in Belfast with us was like, we really love Scrubs and we love the music and all this stuff. And she was like, you should check out this MySpace. You can go follow Zach Braff and you can, like, he'll tell you what he's listening to. And so that's what I did. I hopped on MySpace. I became friends with Tom. And
who didn't? We were all friends with Tom. Could you unfriend Tom? I forget. It's been so long.
Did you like Tom better in real life or Tom better as Justin Timberlake, or Justin Timberlake as Tom in the Facebook movie, The Social Network?
Oh, Social Network. He wasn't Tom, was he?
Yeah.
He wasn't Zach Parker?
No, he was. I'm pretty sure he's Tom.
Oh, I got to go back. I saw The Social Network in the theater and was blown away. I thought it was fantastic.
It was a great movie.
Aaron Sorkin, right? Wrote that?
I don't know who wrote it.
I believe it was.
What's his name? Eichenberg?
Yeah, I mean,
Jesse?
Jesse was just the role of his life. I mean, fantastic movie, but MySpace, definitely remember getting involved in MySpace. And of course, you and I are both heavy into music. And yeah, I remember going around and, liking all these pages and whatnot. And that was really the basis of it. But there was indeed still a lot of anonymity in MySpace because of the way you could have any username you wanted, and you didn't have to have your pictures, as your avatar and whatnot. So there was still a little bit of hiding going on there. If you
but
wanted
I mean, yeah, you saw the movie Catfish?
I did not.
No. Go watch the movie Catfish. If you're on social media and you want to be freaked out at all by the...
It was a whole movie. I remember it was like an MTV show as well.
It was a show,
wasn't it?
yep.
Yeah, okay.
But there is a documentary called Catfish.
Okay. Oh, I maybe have seen that in
And
passing
so,
on
well,
Netflix.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to have a username, you have to have an email address, you have to have pictures. But I could go download all of somebody's pictures and create an account as them.
True. But there's certainly, we seem to be moving away from the mask factor, if you will, with basically the rise of Facebook, which...
I just don't know how you can ever get away from it, because people put so much information out there. It's so easy to steal somebody else's identity.
It is now. I mean, it's spiraled way out of control. I mean...
Well, but it was back in 2005 as well. I mean, so the anonymity it's a bad thing and it's a good thing. There's more accountability and less accountability. It almost feels a little bit like the middle is becoming smaller, and either you're more accountable or you're less accountable.
Well, and nowadays you're viewed as almost some sort of freak if you don't have a social account or a Facebook account of some type with basically billions of users out there in the world. And it's when someone says, I'm not on Facebook, you almost give them a double take nowadays, because it's so common. I mean, it's like the rite of passage when you turn, I don't know what the age is to get a profile nowadays, but
13
yeah,
probably.
So way too young. But you basically, turn 13 and literally grab a Facebook account, and there go years of your life right before your eyes.
It's very interesting the time that we're living in, because you can start building real collateral online the moment you get these accounts. So you could actually have, I remember in 2012 when I signed up for my Clout account, and it was showing me all, and of course I did it with, based on music. I wanted to see how my role in Citizen Bear, what that did to my own personal dossier, as they say, like what that did in my wider online presence.
Right.
And it was very interesting. But at a younger age, like, these kids are understanding that they have the millennials and younger. They're understanding that they have some real collateral and assets in their hands with all their online stuff. And it's translating into things like Bitcoin.
Right, which even with its name in the news constantly, I still haven't delved heavily into it. But
you got to check it out, because a friend of mine, John Grattan, the guy who I started Citizen Bear with, he had bought in late October. He bought an eighth of a Bitcoin for $150. And at that point, Bitcoin was worth $8,000.
And it's gone up to 16 and down to 10 and back up and right.
But it's very interesting, because Bitcoin's all based on your belief and your comfortability with the online presence. And people don't think of Bitcoin that way. But one thing I've noticed, kind of doing a lot of social marketing for the last 10 years, just mostly for music. We did some with Measured Methods, but mostly with music for me, is things come and go, and there's trends and there's fads, and I got in not early Facebook Live, but I got in early enough to utilize Facebook Live, where I had 4, 5, 6, 7 musicians coming to me and asking me, like, how the heck are you doing this?
Right.
And one thing that Bitcoin does is it allows you to do something like a Facebook Live or a Periscope, which are live streaming videos, and turn those likes, those live likes, into collateral and cryptocurrency. It's interesting. And the thing is, like, you and I, we didn't grow up that way. We grew up with money in our hands, or like a check that you could write and you could hold.
You haven't written a check since 2012, though.
I haven't. I had to write. That's not true. I every once in a while we have to pay the babysitter, and I don't have cash, so I write a check.
The babysitter.
And I always get a little weirded out. I'm like, are they even gonna want this thing?
Sidebar. What do you pay the babysitter?
Oh, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
And so it depends. If they're a certified college, if they have their certification.
We are going to talk about this now. I'm just curious.
This is bad.
They make a lot of money.
Babysitters, please don't hate me. So if they're in high school, it's like $10 an hour.
Not bad. Cash.
Yeah.
Under the table. It's not horrible. It's equivalent to $14 an hour, on a paycheck and W-2.
Yeah. So, and if it's a college student, they have like they come in with their certification, and we're up.
Yeah.
Like we're hard up. We have a gig and we have to pay somebody, and
right.
It's like $15 an hour.
Okay.
$16 an hour.
This is going to talk about going down the rabbit hole, but I pulled out a Burlington Bagel the other day, and they're hiring $15 an hour.
Yeah.
To work in the bagel shop, and we don't need to go down this road, but it's interesting to see, speaking of Bitcoin and currency and dollars in our pocket, what's going on in the world nowadays. But so get back to the social thing there. I think you and I both probably connected most over Twitter, which is where I spend a ridiculous amount of my time, as it being my social media of choice. And actually just shuttered an account the other day, but I probably got 10 when it's all said and done, even though I'm heavily using 3 or 4 of them. What's your social media of choice, would you say?
I really like I'm more of a visual guy. Twitter is where I get my news and information about the world.
The immediacy.
Yeah. I don't hardly go to any traditional news agencies anymore.
Right.
I do VPR, NPR,
right,
BBC, and that's pretty much it as far as
right. But you let everything else come to you, and that's the beauty of Twitter.
I do, and I really like Twitter for that. Probably Instagram. And I'm a little bit more choosy too with Facebook. I use it for the music, so I use it as more of a marketing tool. And Instagram, I kind of picture says 1,000 words, and
right. But is it a picture right now and from last week, from 4 days ago, from 5 minutes ago? Oh, look, this is one from 3 days ago. Oh, this one's from a week ago. Algorithms. Right now, that's what's going on with Instagram and Facebook. And
it gives it
Instagram's
to me
horrible.
pretty good. Like, I don't get the Instagram. They haven't worked out the algorithm in the same way that they have with the FB. The FB is pretty bad. Every single morning, I have to change it from most relevant to the most top stories to most recent, because
I change it about 6 times a day, just so you know, because it always resets back.
Well, yeah, I know,
which is just crazy to me that it can be a default feature in your settings to say always go to most recent, because I don't need your top stories.
Did you try? Did you dabble in Elo at all?
I did.
How did that go
for like a week or two, just like everybody else did, where I was like, hey, this is kind of neat. And I still get notifications because apparently I still have an account.
Yeah.
So the irony is I actually set it up under Hop Snobbery, which is my beer Twitter and has most people know me. And it was cool because the big attraction with Elo, and it was based here out of Vermont, northern Vermont, was the back to the anonymity factor. And basically there was a big backlash with Facebook with the LGBT community that they couldn't have their transgender identity on Facebook. So there was a humongous backlash, and LO basically said, come be whomever you want, and we won't throw advertisements at you at the same time. And that's really where LO took off like mad, was everyone going over and saying, I want my profile back and my anonymity back, and let me run with that. And
the problem is you couldn't. So I did LO because what I wanted something that I could be, that could be mine, that didn't feel like, I wanted something that could be mine, and something that I could have a choice number of friends that I wanted to be on, but I couldn't get those friends to come over with me.
Right.
And so I met some nice new people.
Sure.
But the nice thing about Facebook is I could connect with people like your brother-in-law, who I don't get to see these folks I went to high school with.
Right.
And that's the nice thing about Facebook, is I can see what people are doing. I don't have to call my aunts and uncles, which I wouldn't anyway, but I still get to see what they're doing.
Right. For the ultimate evil that people think Facebook is, and really it probably ultimately is, there is still a nice factor about, like, my parents are now basically snow bunnies and in Florida 6 months a year, and my sister and brother-in-law are now in Georgia, the state, and it's easy to see what they're doing. And I have an aunt in Texas, and my an aunt and uncle in Florida, and cousins that live all over, and there's just something very appealing about being able to log into that location and seeing what's going on, and hopefully they're sharing. And I wish more people did share. We always say that you may be friends with. I saw your friend list the other day.
How many friends do you have?
You've got a lot of friends.
How many friends do you have?
I've probably got 320 maybe.
Oh yeah.
And only if more than 30 shared, I'd be thankful. And that's really the shame. Is I'd like to see more people share. It ends up being a lot of the same people over and over again. Every once in a while, you kind of hide somebody because they dominate your feed, but the algorithm is a little bit of a mess there. But algorithm-wise, I think Facebook's
I almost never hide anybody. Facebook doesn't give me a chance to. So I must have over 1,300 friends at this point. At one point, I did have over 1,500 friends, and I pared down to I really wanted to get. Back in 2012, I really wanted to get, I don't know, this is probably 2014. I wanted to get under 1,000 friends, because what happens is you start getting in the music scene, and, the best way to get new gigs and the best way to get your stuff heard is to become friends with people who are in the scene. And so if somebody was in the scene, or somebody had all the right mutual friends, I'm like, all right, they're asking for a friend, and for a friend request, and I accept it.
Right.
Because I want Andrew James to be what people think of me as. Because as much as I love my day job, I'd much rather be playing music and doing podcasts and
right,
doing this type of thing. This is what I enjoy doing.
It's the true beauty, I think, of social and sharing in our internet connection society nowadays. And the live thing, you hit on it real quick initially when the whole live factor came out. I thought, what the heck is the point? Where's this going to go? And then Ryan Montbleu, who's an artist that I absolutely adore and I've been listening to for over 10 years now, was live streaming his shows even before any live artist was doing it, and was actually made some national press. I think NPR actually carried a piece on how they basically hijacked an app and were able to stream live. Basically the soundboard feed and with a video, and it was fantastic. And now, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Periscope and Twitter, they're all doing it, and the people that are doing it real well, actually, I'm hoping are the musicians. Those are the ones that should be taking advantage of it. It's some of the people that, just do it for everyday life.
If you go on Periscope, you can watch someone sleep, and that's their deal.
Yeah,
but that's their deal. So I got on Periscope before I did the whole Facebook Live thing, and I was like, all right, I want to check this out. And there's some comedians that would get on. There are other folks that were musicians. Some people would live stream their Dungeons and Dragons games and stuff like that, and it'd be interesting to see what folks were doing, kind of to get a taste of what's out there in the world. But yeah, the Periscope one was weird.
You know what I use Periscope for? I Google if UFC has a fight on. I actually will go into Twitter and hit UFC Periscope, and someone's always live streaming the fight, and I'll jump on real quick and watch it for a few. But.
You know, when we were doing Measured Methods, one thing that I loved about what you would do is you'd go out there and you'd be waiting in beer lines, and you would take a picture of the beer line. I check Facebook to see how long the beer line was, to see if is it worth it to go to Fiddlehead to get the second fiddle release? Right. You know, how long's the line? What time? If I leave my house at this time, Periscope would be awesome for that. If somebody would go and like hang out in a line, and you could see, like, especially with something like the Lawson's, those tent sales with Lawson's.
Yeah, those are crazy. Truck stop Alchemist sales.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Speaking of which, and I can't think of the Instagram account, but someone actually created a beer line Instagram account. Yeah, and it's kind of a riot. Thankfully, the beer lines have subsided a little bit, but they're still out there. It's because everybody in the world's in cans now.
And they're making, like, there's decent stuff.
There's a lot of decent stuff.
My father-in-law asked me the other day, he's starting to get back into beer. He was really into, like, when you'd ask him what he thought was the best, it was going to be any of the German, like the Hofbrau or the Spaten, you know, any of the big German breweries. He was like, those are the best that you can get. I'm like, well, you gotta at least try some of the Vermont stuff. Like, we're here, why wouldn't you want to try it? And he doesn't like the IPAs or whatever. But he goes,
they're not for everyone. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely. But he's like, hey, how come? And he, you know, he'll go and stand in line and get me a 4-pack of Sip of Sunshine for.
Well, that's nice of him.
No
wonder you married into that family, huh?
No, right? But he said to me the other day, yesterday actually, I went over to the house, and he goes, "How come you never get Hill Farmstead?" I go, "Because I'm not going up. I'm not going to drive an hour to stand in line for an hour." And then, because they got you, you're there, you've stood in line, like, they're going to charge you the premium price for the beer. It's like, I know I can just run to the local convenience stores, the Jollies and the Essex Discount Bevy or whatever, or run over to see Jen at the Bevy. I know I can get stuff that's like $12 a 4-pack. I'm not paying like $18 for.
Yeah, I don't even know what the going rate is up at Hill. I haven't been up since.
I think it's gotten better, because I really think the quality of beer has gotten a ton better.
Right.
Even since we started.
This is it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but speaking of social media, I actually started Vermont's original Beer Week a few years ago, 2015 and 2016, and just changed all the handles to at Love Vermont Beer on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So I run that social media, and it's where I basically share a lot of what our brewers are doing, and we're on the verge of opening another one. Killington Beer is about to open any day now. I've been following them, and we just had Dog River open in Barrie, so we're up to 63 breweries, I believe.
63 breweries?
And just over half of them are canning. But that's,
how many in Rutland now?
Rutland's still only got Hop and Moose, but they are actually dividing, and they're going to be opening a second location with a new name.
Roaring Brook?
They're out of it. They only had a P.O. box or whatever in Vermont, and they got booted from the Vermont Brewers Association, from my understanding. So they're out of the fold. But we actually have 56 members in the Vermont Brewers Association now. They just brought in like 5. It's kind of exciting, and there's actually a new Brewfest coming up in Killington in March that the Vermont Brewers Association is doing, and so it's not just going to be this summer on the lake. But
you going to that one?
No, it's outdoors, and if
outdoors in March.
Right now, outdoors in March, and that was kind of my trepidation early on. Is wow, it could be really cold. I mean, I don't know, it was 20 below last night here in Colchester, so Morrisville hit 28 below this morning, and obviously it's hopefully not going to be like that in March, but that was my worry, so to speak. Plus, I don't do winters. I'm ready to hibernate already. I'm ready for spring, and it's January 2nd. But
yeah,
what can you do?
Just somebody at work was like, today they said, I can't wait till it's 45 degrees out again.
I can't wait till it's 20 degrees out again right now.
Tomorrow,
so,
right?
Yeah. Apparently, but then it's due to drop back down to 15 below zero this weekend.
It's
so
true.
So anyway, so let's try to wrap up, I guess, because we could just riff on about this for a while. But so if you had to pimp a couple of, say, social profiles that you want somebody to hit you up at, or if they could find you most easily, where you be and under what handles?
You can always find me at Andrew James 78.
That's on Instagram.
It's also my Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah. Because, yeah, so Andrew James 78 is also my Facebook, and it's my Google Plus, if you do that.
They've been talking about folding that medium. We didn't even talk about it. That's how prominent of a social media Google Plus is. But
yeah, YouTube, I'm hoping to utilize YouTube a little bit more. This year,
talk about that.
I'd love to. I wish that I wish that YouTube did as good a job as Facebook Live, because that would be my preferred. I have a bunch of live videos on Facebook that I should probably convert over to YouTube.
You can record them, which is good. Download them and put them back up onto YouTube. So we didn't even mention YouTube and really the popularity of that. But you're also One Who Sees Dimly on Twitter.
I'm One Who Sees Dimly on Twitter, and the band is the Owl Stars. Owls as in hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
Stars as in bright stars.
Right. So I can't pimp all the ones that you pimp, I should say, because of certain level of anonymity. So my most frequent social platform would be Twitter, and that would be at @hopsnobbery. And it's not that on Instagram. That's actually a gal on Instagram, which is why I don't have my own private Instagram account. So someone who will share from Instagram to Twitter will automatically tag me on Twitter, and I usually respond and go, no, I'm not her. So Hopsnobbery on Twitter, but I also run at Love Vermont Beer on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So it's probably how you can most easily get through to me.
If you want to, you can talk to Hopsnobbery on Instagram, sell your Twitter account, and then you can take over and imbibe the times.
No, we don't need to do that. I'm pretty happy with where I launched Hopsnobbery on Mardi Gras 3+ years ago now, and it's done well for me at 3,300 followers, and
I knew you before Hopsnobbery.
Yeah, so I'm still that person to a few people out there. So we're going to end up coming back to revisit, I'm sure, probably just Twitter one of these days. But hey,
I'd like to end with this and just saying, my brothers, I'm going to turn 40 this year, and my brothers they feel like they've coined a new phrase. Because I identify as millennial, they call me transgenerational. So I'd like to, next time we talk about this stuff, I'd like to get into that a little bit, because I don't think it's super common for people of our age to be as deep into social as we are.
We happen to be at that right age bracket where it's been around us for 25% of our life, and we both had children during the phase of social, thinking of when your girls are a little bit older and my kids are a lot older. But I have a 15-year-old and living in Los Angeles, and she's got an interesting Twitter and Instagram following and is doing real well and loves the social aspect. And
oh yeah, my nieces and nephew, my niece at over Christmas vacation, she was like, Hey, Uncle A-Dog, how many likes you get on your last Instagram? I was like, I did pretty well. I got like 18. And she's like, 99. I'm like, what in the hell?
She had 99 likes, and a photo ain't one. A photo is one, I suppose. So, hey, until next time, I'm Eric D.
Andrew James.
Hey, thanks for joining us for Riff On.